Hello everybody, welcome to Catherine Sews. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's video is all about presser feet. All of those presser feet that come with your machine as well as a few extras. I honestly hardly ever use any of these specialized presser feet, but maybe I should be using them. So today I'm going to go through each of them, figure out what their actual purpose is, and are they beneficial or not. So I have at least 10 of them in my hand here, including a walking foot, which honestly I should use more. I know I should use that more. So I'll put it to the test for a couple of different purposes and see if it really is beneficial. And then the rest of them we'll just go through one by one and see if it's worth bothering with or not. So I think it'll be kind of interesting. If that sounds good to you, then let's get busy and put these to the test. So let's take a look at a walking foot. I've got my Baby Lock walking foot, the one that came with my machine installed. It's similar to this. It's a big honking thing. So first of all, you have to remove the whole assembly of the presser foot, not just the presser foot itself, but this whole piece has to come off so that you can get the walking foot behind this screw and tightened up. On this side, there is a little two-part prong that goes over the bolt for the needle. That's like a two-arm thing that goes over this, so that as your needle goes up and down, that's what helps to walk the foot along. So recently, as in 5 minutes ago, I was trying to hem this leather jacket, this white leather jacket. And if this video hasn't come out yet, it hopefully will soon, because hopefully I will have success soon. I thought that the walking foot would help sewing this leather, and it did. This little line of stitching here, I did with the walking foot, with leather to leather, and that worked out pretty well, but it still was skipping stitches a lot in here. It was even skipping stitches when I was sewing leather to lining. So the walking foot definitely improved the situation, but I think this leather is just too thick and I need to use a heavier duty machine. So working with leather is one reason why you might want to use a walking foot, but in this case, the walking foot helped, but I still need a more powerful machine. Another time you might want to use a walking foot is when you're matching plaids and stripes. So I've got two samples here that are pinned together the way I normally would pin, right? I'm pinning maybe every fourth line, like matching up the stripe very nice and accurately. I've got the walking foot on already, so I'll do that with the walking foot. Then I'll do it with a regular foot just to compare. Now, they say that you can't really go in reverse with a walking foot, but some people say you can get 2 or 3 stitches back, so I'm going to try. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Okay, I could cry. That is just so beautiful. I'm going to try now with a regular foot, but I don't think it's going to come out that nice. We'll see. So quilters also like to use a walking foot because when they're going through so many layers, what the walking foot does, it basically helps to move the top layers along at the same rate that the feed dogs are moving the bottom layers along. So it just evens up the speed at which your multiple layers go through. Now, looking into this a little bit, I saw people saying that it's good for using with silky fabrics. Honestly, I just don't see that that's necessary. I mean, silky fabrics have their challenges, but I don't think, well, you know what, maybe I should try it before I write it off. I didn't think I needed it to match stripes, but let's just see. So we're back doing the same thing now, but with just a regular presser foot. It feels like it's going perfectly. Like maybe the results be just as beautiful without the walking foot. No, the results are not as beautiful. Okay, I am 100% converted. That shocks me. It's pretty good, and then in places, it just shifts that little bit right in there. That little shift, it's a small thing, but when you're trying to match stripes, this is the result that I want. That is spectacular. I did not know that perfection was dependent on a walking foot for matching stripes. I thought I was pretty good at matching stripes, but there you go. That's without the walking foot, and that is with. Okay, I'm 100% sold. So with being sold on that, I'm going to try it on a silky fabric. So I can see here there's a bit of selvage. So I know that if I sew this side, I'm sewing on the cross grain, which makes silky fabric so much better. I have a whole video on cutting and sewing satins on the cross grain. But that's a different topic. If you're having puckering seams on a satin fabric, it's because you've cut it the normal way on a lengthwise grain. You need to cut it on the crosswise grain. So here I'm going to sew this, and I think it's going to come out perfectly just with the regular foot, and we'll see. So beautiful, no problems. I really don't see what the walking foot is going to improve there. Like, it's beautiful. Here's the next sample, and I just want to put them back together so that you can see that that's where I just chopped them apart. So this edge is also on the cross grain. I'm not changing the grain. So here we go now. I feel like the walking foot is like overkill for this satiny fabric. Like, the fabric is so delicate. It just feels very heavy-handed for this. That was certainly no easier. Is it any better? Is it any different? The stitch length looks longer. I didn't change the stitch length, but it does look longer. I just don't see that it's any better. In fact, I don't know. I think maybe it's worse. This top one was with the regular foot. No, I'm going to say no. For satiny, silky fabric, I just don't see the need to switch to a walking foot. I just didn't feel like that did anything for me. But with matching stripes and plaids, yes, that made a massive difference. Well, we're talking millimeters, but when you're matching plaids, millimeters are a massive difference. So yes, for matching plaids, not to bother with for silkies. So next up, let's try out this foot. This is the first time I've used this foot. On the Baby Lock, it's G, and that is the Overcast Foot. So on the Baby Lock, stitches 11 and 12 and 13 are all considered overcast stitches. So if I select the first one, number 11, and you'll probably have a stitch like that on your machine. It's like a zigzag with a space in between, right? And so if you look here in this corner, it switches to G. And so that's the presser foot you're supposed to be using. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you just stick with the regular presser foot instead of switching to G. So stitch number 11 is supposed to help prevent fraying in medium weight and thin fabrics. So it's like a zigzag stitch you would use, but it's like zig and then a few stitches and then a zag. Like, it's just a little bit different, slightly different than a regular zigzag. So I can use it on a regular foot, but look what happens to the edge here. It does do the function of a zigzag stitch. It's pretty good. You can see here at the end better how there's some spaces in between the zigs, but it's sort of making that a little bit bulky, right? It's sort of rolling the edge. So now if I switch to that G foot, if I line up my edge with the division, like this big toe on the right is going to hang over the edge. And can you see that there's sort of like a little pin in there that the stitches go over so it doesn't buckle the edge? There, can you see how it just keeps it so nice and flat? That's beautiful. So you can compare the two where this one rolls it and you get kind of this bulky edge, but using the proper foot that goes with that stitch, it keeps it flat. So that's nice. If you don't have a serger, that kind of stitch with the overcast foot, I think is really, really good. So I'm sold on that one. Now, does that mean that I would need to switch back and forth if I want to do a straight stitch and then overcast? Let's just try that, because that would be a headache if you had to keep switching feet. So I'm just going to see what happens on a straight stitch with this. It's a bit nerve-wracking because my needle is just about hitting that pin, but it does go beside it and it sews it perfectly well. So no problem there. This is a bit of a heavier fabric than my silk, so let's try stitch 12. This one is meant for heavier weight fabrics or fabrics that fray easily. And so let's give that a whirl. Again, I'm using the G foot. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, again, it keeps it nice and flat. It's slow though, right? Like, it does a lot of backing and forthing, so that stitch is kind of slow, but it looks like serging. Like, that's beautiful. Now, I'm going to try that stitch with the regular foot. So the regular foot is J, and I just want to see the difference. Like, is it worth switching back and forth? Well, that's kind of just as good. isn't it? The fabric is thick enough that it's not folding and making a bulky line. Like, it's hard to tell the difference. I think on a heavier fabric, the G foot makes no difference. Like, they're both good. I wouldn't bother. On a thin fabric, like a fine fabric like this, where you don't want that edge to roll up, then yes, maybe it's worth switching to the G foot. But otherwise, no, that stitch is great with the G foot or not. My conclusion is that the G foot has its uses, mainly with the lighter fabrics, but I do like that stitch number 12 with a heavier fabric with either foot. Okay, so I is the regular zipper foot. It works great. So I'm not even going to put that to the test. We all know and love the zipper foot, but it's not great for an invisible zipper. For an invisible zipper, I have some of these in my classroom, and they were great when we had the Genomes, but they don't work very well with the Baby Locks. It's just a tiny bit off center, and it doesn't really nail that invisible zipper where it needs to be nailed. This is the one that you want for a Baby Lock. It tapers at the front, and it's perfectly centered. It perfectly lines you up with where you need to be for an invisible zipper. So this is the one that I would get for the Baby Lock. And you know what? I will put a link in the description here. I'm sure that at Quality Sewing, they would have these. I'll find an item number and I'll link that in the description for you. I don't think I need to demonstrate it for you. If you know how to sew an invisible zipper, then you'll appreciate this foot. Some of the decorative stitches like that one switch to an N foot. So I'll show you what it looks like with, and I'm just using the default setting, which is 5 millimeters wide and 0.5 millimeters long. And so let's just see what that looks like with the regular foot. So that looks quite cute. No problem there, right? This is the N foot, and it's just wider, but let's see if it looks better. And not really. They look exactly the same, I think. I don't really see any difference. One nice thing is that it has the clear section here. You can see a bit better. In terms of the function, no, I would say that the J foot and the N foot do just about the same. So yes, you can definitely live without that N foot. That didn't seem to make any difference whatsoever. I will put this to the test with the Baby Locks I have in my classroom because I just had a feeling that it did make a difference in the classroom. So before I write it off completely, let me just do a little bit of research in my classroom. So I did end up running into my classroom to try out that N foot. So there we've got the Baby Lock Jubilants. So I'll try out these ones. But then these ones that are a lot more dense, and also these ones, I'll try those all out with the 2 different feet, and we'll see if it makes a difference. Okay, so I'm threaded right now, just regular thread, and the regular presser foot. So I'm going to start with stitch 61, which is sort of the open hearts. Okay, 62. Now I'll jump to 66, the stars. And 67 is the hearts. And then I'll go to 70. So that seems pretty okay. The little hearts, cars, bicycle, very cute. So with the other foot, doesn't make a darn bit of difference. So the top one is with the N presser foot. Is it a tiny bit better? The hearts maybe are a little bit better formed. The hearts and the stars, those ones are maybe a little bit better than the regular presser foot. So now the next foot to put to the test is the R foot, which is meant for blind hemming. It's got that little edge that hangs down. The stitch that I'm going to use on this Baby Lock, this is the Sofia 2. So this is stitch 17 and it's the R presser foot. But I'll just use the regular foot first. If I ever do a blind hem, this is how I do it. So I've got my hem pressed up. I like to serge it first and then I press up the hem, and then you fold that hem under and leave that serged edge sticking out. What the stitch is going to do is a few stitches there and it's going to hop over and catch the edge, and then a few stitches and hop over and catch the edge. So it is a little tricky with this regular foot, but this is how I've always done it. The tricky part is that when it hops over to catch the edge, you only want to catch a little bit. Now, I'm not using a very good matching thread. I'm using white. So any little time it hops over, you're going to see it on the outside. So I don't want to catch too much, and I don't want to miss it. Okay, so that is a bit of a pain. It's not that much fun. And so let's see how I did in just those couple inches. I missed quite a few, like my toe would definitely go in there and that would pull. On the outside, not too bad. I only dug in too much there. You can see that one where I dug in too much, but it's not good to miss it either because that's not a proper hem. So let's see if the R foot makes a difference. I've literally never used this before. So now what do? This little middle part goes right along my fold, I guess. I'll be excited if this actually helps. I feel like I don't have to be as cautious, that if that really does the trick, then all I need to do is feed this right into that little divider thingy. Gosh, I hope this works because this is so easy. Okay, let's check it out. That was way easier than what I usually do. I hardly ever use a blind foot because it's a pain in the butt. Like I didn't enjoy that part there. Here, I didn't miss a single stitch. Like that feels, it is a lot more secure. Okay, how does it look on the outside? Oh my gosh, it's bloody perfect. Wowzers. Okay, I'm definitely, oh, maybe there is a stitch that got missed there, but the whole rest of it is perfect. And that is wonderful. Like, why would I do a hand sewn hem if I could do that? That is fantastic. You know what? I'm going to just try it on this whole edge. I'm excited. So the hem is pressed up, folded under, leave the little serged edge sticking out. And of course, that doesn't have to be a serged edge. It could be a folded edge. You can fold that edge in and then leave the fold sticking out. That is fine too. Or you could use hem tape, whatever, but you just need to leave a little bit sticking out. And then I've got that little divider riding along my fold. I love that I don't even have to be careful. It's really secure. I don't think I missed anything that time. Maybe there? Yeah, maybe one there. And then the outside, pretty darn good. And that's with, you know, a thread that doesn't match well at all. Okay, I'm going to get my students to do that for sure. They hate it when I get them to do a hand sewn hem. I think it's a good skill, but this is a bajillion times faster and that's beautiful. Definitely sold on the R foot. That is a good one. Here's a foot that I love. This is the M foot, and this is for sewing on buttons. And I didn't think a machine could do a great job of sewing on buttons. I thought they'd fall off for sure. But once I had a shirt that had so many buttons, I thought to give it a try, and I loved it. And the buttons didn't fall off. So here we go. We're going to put that one on. Way back here on the back of the machine, you'll feel a little button that you push to one side, and it drops the feed dogs. They come up again. If I push to my left, they go down when I push to my right. So you put the feed dogs down because you want it quite stationary. So here's a little button. We kind of center it there. This is the stitch you want to use. So it just shows a circle with the line across it. And so I need to just turn my wheel. I'm turning the flywheel towards me to make sure it's hitting that button in the right place. It does take a second to set it up. So it's in that first hole. And I turn the wheel and make sure, yes, it's going to be okay. It's a little nerve-wracking. And then I'm just going to go. I'm just going slowly, and it's going to stop when it's done. So see, it did 3 stitches all on the left. My foot is still pressing on the pedal. I haven't stopped. It just stops when it's done. So then I can lift up. Don't use your thread cutter. Just turn the wheel, lift it up, pull out a bit of thread there. And then you can bring those threads underneath the button. So those threads are underneath the button now. And I can just tie them together underneath the button. I don't even really think you have to. But if you are, you know, a little bit of an obsessive knot tire, then you can just tie them like that under the button. You don't even have to bring them to the back of the fabric. Just tie like that and cut. Okay, So it can't do a shank button for obvious reasons, but it can do a 4-hole button. So let me show you that. So for a 4-hole button, start with the 2 holes that are closest to you. Get that set up. Turn the wheel till you know it is good. And go. It's going to stop when it's finished those 2 holes. So again, I'm still pushing with my foot, and then I'm going to turn the wheel to lift that up, scooch it toward me a smidge, and make sure it's good for the other 2 holes. Yep. So again, you could pull those threads under and tie the knot. This is good for shirts or anything that's thin fabric to fit under there, because you can't use a spacer to make, like for a thicker fabric, it's just not going to fit under there. But when you're doing a shirt and you've got like 12 buttons to sew on, it's really fantastic. So I have just never had any luck with these fine rolled hem presser feet. I just do mine old school, but I'm going to try. Alrighty, so the idea is you do your little double fold and you pin it. Stick that under the presser foot just to get started and go. It's just a regular straight stitch. Once you've started, lift up and get your little fold to go around that curl in the middle. And it's supposed to now do that part for you. It seems like it's working. Maybe this is the day. And no. Oh no. I clearly just do not have a talent for these kind of feet. You know, maybe you have the talent to make that work. I certainly do not. And I've tried so many times. And I just, no, I just do not have the gift. So I even went into my local sewing machine repair place and asked the woman there to teach me how to use these little rolling feet. It cracked me up because she said she hates them too. So we did okay with one that was a bit wider, like I think this is the 1/4 inch one. And you kind of end up with a little glitch at the beginning. And then it was actually pretty good. But I don't want that anywhere, right? So this was maybe a little bit better, but this is with the expert helping me, and it was not great. And then when we tried the narrow one, like that I had been trying, it was just a disaster on this organza. It just did not work at all. And so she said, if you're doing a fine rolled hem, just do it on the serger, which yes, sometimes I do. That is beautiful, right? But it's not as fine as I like for a more formal garment. So let me show you how I do a fine rolled hem the old school way. And I don't use a special foot. I just sew one line. So that kind of just draws a line for me. I fold it on that line or just a little bit below that line. There's my line of stitching. So that's my little guideline. After that second pass, then just trim anything that might stick up through the hem. You can use duck-billed scissors here are good too, but you know what? These little Henkels do a beautiful job. Then after it's trimmed, you do the third pass. So it is a 3-step thing. It would be awesome if there was a little foot that helped to do this all in one step, but I've just never had any luck with those gadgets. So there you go. It's 3 passes. On the outside, it looks just like a little tiny hem. But what's nice is that the 3 lines of sewing, that's actually 6 lines of thread, right? Because the top and the bobbin thread, those 6 lines of thread actually give a nice weight to it. So it hangs nice. Whereas if you did have a gadget where you did it all in one, you'd have only 2 lines of thread. And I know it sounds like microscopic, but it actually does make a nice difference. Those 6 lines of thread give a nice weight to it. So that is beautiful, right? Okay. It is a 3-step process instead of 1. But it works. So I got this online on Amazon and I'm going to try it. And I've got 3 different sizes, 8/8, so I guess that's an inch, 6/8, so that's 3/4, and 4/8, so a 1/2 inch. So it's not a fine rolled hem, it's a normal hem, I guess. But if it works, then I'll put a link in the description. If it doesn't work, I won't bother. So I guess it's gonna wrap in there first. Maybe I am just not patient enough or delicate enough. Like even that is tricky. And they came with no instructions. Like these just arrived with no instructions. I can't even, like, I'm already out of patience. I mean, if it's good, it's maybe worth the headache of doing this. Like, it should do a double fold. That's the idea, I think. No, that's a disaster. You know, if I have to fiddle around this much, I might as well just do it myself, right? So this is a no, I think. Oh my gosh, no, that's a disaster. Okay, that's not good. Maybe I'm giving up on this too quickly. So I've got my bit folded, and I'm gonna first just sew that regularly. And so now I'm gonna lift up. I'm gonna bring that over, get that in there. Get this little fold around. So fiddly, like, okay, maybe like that. Okay, gonna try again. I think I have to just fold it anyway, which is what I would normally do. If I don't fold it normally, like if I don't give it that double fold, it's losing it, right? So I think I still just have to do my double fold the way I normally do, because otherwise it just goes off. So that's no help. So no, I'm not going to put a link to those Amazon presser feet. No, maybe a stiffer fabric. Let's try. Maybe if I do a double fold like that before I slip it in there. Okay, maybe. You have to have more patience than I have. Like, I would just rather do it myself. Like, it's not hard to do a double turned hem. It's hard to use this. I'm really trying for you. I'm trying to do good research here. Well, that's a bloody disaster. Okay, I'm going to show you how easy it is to do that properly without stupid foot like this. When I'm doing a little double turned hem like that, I just fold twice and put it under the foot and go. And then I just organize as I go. I don't even pin. There, so my hands can do what that little gadget promised to do. Like, there's nothing that difficult about this. So that's what that foot was supposed to do, and that's what it did. I'm sure it's me. I'm sure I just was not patient enough, but you know, this is a solution looking for a problem. Like, it's just not very difficult to do that. You don't need a special foot. Okay, well, that was fun. I actually learned a lot in that one, and hopefully you did too. Of the presser feet that were definite wins, first of all, was the walking foot, right? I really have only put that to use when I'm doing leather or things that don't kind of slide through. I thought you needed the walking foot to help them go through properly, but matching those stripes up with that, that's a game changer. That really, really made a massive difference. And I'm never going to match plaid and stripes without a walking foot. So that is a keeper. The G foot for the overcast stitch, it did make a difference on the fine fabric. Whether it's worth switching back and forth, although I did find you could do a straight stitch with it. And so maybe if you are using an overcast stitch instead of a serger and you're working with a fine, like a lightweight soft fabric, that G foot did make a nicer edge. Not a total game changer, but definitely it was good. The R foot, the foot that's made for the blind hem, that is fantastic, right? I had learned old school. I learned these things like 40 years ago, right? I had learned old school style, how to turn it and just catch that edge. But this does it for you. The blind hem foot really, really made a beautiful difference. I'm definitely going to be getting my students to use this one a lot. The button sewing foot, if you've never used them before, you got to try it out. It is a bit scary first because you have to use the wheel to get the needle to go down exactly in the space. But most buttons, the space in between the holes is standard. And so when you use the proper stitch that goes with that, it does do it for you. And then I did look online at qualitysewing.com, and they do have the invisible zipper foot that I like. This is made for the Baby Lock, so you just have to find the right one for your machine. But if you have a Baby Lock, these are actually on sale right now at Quality Sewing. They're 22% off, so it's a really good time to catch them. I feel like getting to know those presser feet a little bit better than I ever have before is a game changer for me, especially in the matching stripes and plaids with the walking foot and the vastly improved blind hem stitching. I'm going to use those a lot. So thank you for watching right to the end. It always means so much to me. And thank you also to Quality Sewing for extending my discount code so that you can get 10% off anything in their whole site. So use the code CS10 at qualitysewing.com to get 10% off any of the presser feet you want, any machine you want, any other gadget you might want. You can get 10% off. So until next time on Catherine Sews, you take care.